So with the measuring I did on the frame jig, even after doing the pie cut on the upper control arm to try to pull it back and that stuff, I noticed that the wheel mounting surface was inboard a little more than I wanted, and I still had positive camber rather. So top of the wheel was leaning out. Now I want it to lean out a little bit so that shims can pull it back in if need be. Okay, but I don't want it more than like a degree because I don't want to have to put too much shim in there. So anyway, in moving it around, I cut the spot welds and mounted it back up, the lower arm here, and did some measuring and stuff like that, and I got it to where it's at 5 degrees caster, which I like. That's a little less extreme than 7, so I kind of like 5. And I got the caster to, or the camber rather, to 89, so it's leaning out a degree. That gives a little bit of flexibility there. Basically, there's one washer in there, basically a 16th inch shim. I don't want to set it to 90 with no shims, because then that doesn't give any option to tilt it back out or whatever. So anyway, with all the measurements and that stuff, what I came up with was that I need to lengthen this arm, and how I measured it was when I had it sitting in there and that stuff, I put different drill bits in there until I got the spacing I wanted. Okay, and now I've got this piece clamped down. This piece has a couple of other strips under it to pick it up and hold it level. And so what I'm doing is I'm using the drill bit to check and make sure that all my clearances are the same. Okay, and that's telling me that the two are perfectly, you know, parallel, straight up and down. So now I've got to find some, I basically have to clamp this down to put some heavy weight on it so it doesn't move, and then I'll put a couple little strips across here just to tack them in. So this arm is basically toast. So I'll tack it together the way it is and measure it again, and if all the measurements are correct and everything like that, then I'll reconsider, or I'll go back and add this dimension, remove it from the 950, you know, that set these two dimensions. So basically those two cuts are going to be that much closer. And so that way the piece that comes out is a little bit smaller. You get shortened a little bit less. And that's where it's going. I forgot to hit record while I was tacking them on. I'm just using washers. Easy, convenient, strong enough for what I'm doing. That way I didn't have to go cut up any other strips of metal or anything like that. I just, and they're easy to cut in half, and then I can grind them off, stuff like that, if I need to or want to or whatever. But anyway, so now let's mount it up and see how it fits. So I've extended that arm a little bit. The upper arm's still exactly where it was. This is still bolted where it is and stuff like that. I'll have to unbolt these and check and see how loose that is or whatever, make sure it swings through that arc. So anyway, I set the alternate level here. It's like at 0.6 off level, but that should be even, and then I want to see 90 degrees roughly, and that's 88.9, and there's some gunk on there, so that made me have it off a little bit. And this is 88.9, 90, or I mean 89 rather. So it's either 88.9 or 89. It's settled on 89.0 right now. So that's 1 degree of positive camber there. Perfect. Now for caster, that's only 0.1 off, but I'm going to hit the Alt 0 anyway. That puts it back to the normal 0, and then I hit it a second time, and that gives me the new 0, so that says 0, 0. So about the only place I can really get on here to check this is the land where the nut tightens down for the lower ball joint, okay? And I'm trying to keep the level parallel to the ground this way and straight going back and forth, because that land is sitting at an angle back. It's got caster and the spindle inclination built in. So I'm trying to eliminate both of those, and I think I'm measuring that right. I'm not exactly sure. The only way to tell for sure is to put it on a truck, take it down to the alignment shop. So anyway, I'm flat, I'm straight, and I've got 5.4, 5.3 tilted backwards. So I'm real happy with that. You know, wish I hadn't. Well, I still wish I had this darn project done and over with, but there we go. If I remember right, it was 2 5/8 for the QA1 coilover shock, and you know there's exactly 2 5/8 available in there. The shock's not quite centered because this is pushed forward, so I got a feeling you could probably leave the rear bump stop mount in and take the back one out. If you're running coilovers, you know, you may not care about the bump stops anyway. That'd be your concern, but you know, you could probably even just shave 3/8 of an inch off the inside of each one there, just narrow up the, cut off the edge of the bump stop there, and call it good. I don't know. You know, somebody who's going to run coilovers, I have to figure that out. It goes up to 32 3/4, and I set that shock so that it would have, I set the dimensions on that shock so it would have a little bit of leeway over the other shock, if I remember right. So I'm just going to call it 32 3/4 for now. So 33, that adds another inch to our travel. The lower dimension is still going to be the same, because that was limited by the ball joint, okay, the upper ball joint. So that adds an extra inch. So what that means is then our static ride height is a 1/2 inch more, which means that then it's, and instead of being 1.5 inches, that makes it 2 inches of drop. So it's somewhere in the 2 to 2 1/4 inch drop. Okay. That's a little better. I thought I had it figured out before at 2 inches, so I can live with that. That's close enough. That's like a 2-inch drop spindle, okay? People spend a ton of money on drop spindles just to get that 2 inches. So if you think about it, this setup makes for a 2-inch drop, and you could still put a 2-inch drop spindle on here and get a 4-inch drop, and still have 5 inches of suspension travel. Around there, somewhere around there. Okay, what else? I like that. This arm I could literally just, well, I gotta pull these brackets off and bend them. Other than that, that one can get welded. I measured this up with the things in, and the track width is certainly close enough. It's at least as close as the other one. So I like the length on that, on the lower arm. So I should be able to start cutting and doing those. The top ones, no modifications are needed. The other ones, I need to do a little trimming on them. But those aren't the ones that are going out first. The 2 kits that are going out the door first are lowered ones. So I may just work on those first.